everybody and welcome back to another video. Now, over the last year or so, I have had many people ask me questions relating to all things cruising. As you know, I do love my fair share of cruise travel. I love going on cruises, I love talking about cruises, and of course doing these videos I also get follow-up questions from you guys, the viewers, which I absolutely love. I love that you watch and I love that you have questions for me which I can happily answer for you. So the questions I usually get are very general, so your favourite place to visit, any tips for a first timer. But the question I get the most is relating to what to pack in terms of clothes. As you know, there are so many amazing itineraries out there to go on a cruise, but when you have booked and when you are packing or getting ready to pack, you do suddenly think, what's the weather? Or what's the dress code for a certain type of venue on the cruise? So I thought I would do a whole vlog about dress codes, what to pack, the different itineraries, and essentially what you need to know about clothes and packing on board. Now, of course, what to pack or knowing what to pack will be different depending on where you are sailing to. So for example, if you are cruising around the Caribbean, you're obviously going to need something light, something cool, nothing like knitted clothes, anything like that. But then when you're maybe in Alaska or Norway or Iceland, you're going to need thermals, scarf, hat, gloves, the works. So it really does depend on your itinerary. Now, all of the cruises that I've been on have been very different when it comes to knowing what to pack. So I have done a Caribbean cruise, I have done a Norway cruise, and then I've done sort of a bit in the middle. I have done a Spain and Portugal one as well, and Northern Europe and things like that. So I do feel like I can give you some advice and tips just from my past experience, so I hope this does help you. So just starting off with the basics. If you are doing a hot cruise, if you're doing the Med, if you're doing the Caribbean, if you're doing somewhere that you know is going to be hot the whole time, shorts, t-shirts, dresses, swimming stuff, you know that's going to be the general idea of packing in your suitcase. Now, when I went to the Caribbean, it was 14 nights, so I didn't have 14 separate outfits for each port or each day. It was mainly shoving a load of stuff in there that I knew I was going to wear sometime during the cruise, but I didn't have a set, you know, on this day I'll wear this, on this day I'll wear that. I'm not like that at all when I pack. I'm just sort of, I shove a load of stuff in that I know I'm going to wear, and then I'll just wear it whenever. But it was a lot of like light stuff, so just a light t-shirt, a bikini top, a bralette, something like that, just to cover up. It was, yeah, t-shirts, shorts, maybe a co-ord set if it was a skirt and a top, very light dresses, like a light maxi dress to maybe go over a swimming costume. It was all very light, flowy. You just want to be nice and chill. Now, of course, when you're on a cruise, they do have swimming pools. So if you're on a sea day and you just want to nip down to the pool or spend the day around the pool, it's best to put your swimming stuff on, put a cover up over the top, and you can go down for breakfast wearing that. If you go to the buffet, you can just put a cover up on, go for breakfast, and then go and spend the time around the pool. So it's also thinking about maybe what you're going to wear in the morning, the afternoon, for lunch, if you want to put a cover up on, if you want to maybe put a skirt and a top on over your swimming stuff. It's also worth thinking about that as well. Now, when it comes to a more cooler itinerary, so maybe a Baltic cruise, Iceland, Norway, something like that, you know you're going to need something warmer. However, my experience of going on these types of itineraries, you need to pack for all 4 seasons. It is so strange because on one of the port days it could be ice cold, raining, you know, really not great weather, but then the next port you go to, the next day, it could be 22 degrees and you need your sunglasses and shorts and a t-shirt. So it really is difficult to know what to pack in those types of itineraries because the weather conditions are varied from each port. But I would definitely recommend packing all 4 seasons, and I really mean all 4 seasons. So even swimming stuff, because it might be really hot on a port day, so you want to get in the pool, but then the next port it's going to be snowing and you're going to be going up a mountain. It's so random. Now, if you are in the UK and you're sailing from Southampton and it's a round trip to Southampton, of course there's no flying involved for you, so you don't need to worry about the amount or the amount of luggage you can take on board. I have mentioned this again and again, but I want to make this like perfectly clear and just make it known to people who may not be aware. On a cruise, there is no limit in terms of how many pieces of luggage you take on. There is a weight limit of 23 kilograms, which is just to help the agents when loading the luggage on board the ship. But in terms of how many pieces, it's up to you. You take how many cases you think it will be, you know, okay for you, depending on how long you're going. Just to give you that idea, a week's cruise for me, I take my massive suitcase, like my extra large one, and then maybe a little roll, like sort of cabin size suitcase. But then on a 2 week, I'll probably take a big suitcase and a sort of medium suitcase as well, especially if it's one of those all four seasons weathers types of cruise, because you have to pack a bit of everything. So really make the most of that, because you don't get that when you fly. So I think that's a really, really good thing to mention to people if they don't know about it. You can utilise that as many pieces that you want to take on. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about is very important, I would say, when you're going on a cruise. Dress code in the evening. So in the evening, depending on which cruise line you sail with, most of them are fairly similar. They may have a dress code in certain venues. For example, if you go into one of the main dining rooms as opposed to maybe the buffet for dinner, you will have to dress up a bit nicer than maybe you would when you go to the buffet. So if you want to try and walk in flip-flops, swimming shorts and a tank top, it won't work. They won't let you in. But as long as you're wearing something like smart casual is usually the daily sort of attire that they give you. That's usually the dress code. As long as you're wearing that, you'll be fine to go into any restaurant in the evening. But then comes formal nights or black tie nights or celebration nights, however you want to call them. It does vary depending on cruise line, but depending on duration, there will be at least one formal night on your cruise. And when they say formal, they mean formal. So you have to wear a ball gown, a cocktail dress, smart trousers, no jeans, trainers, anything like that. You have to go full on in these venues, and they will turn you away. They do enforce this rule. I have seen it happen before, where I've seen people be turned away because they were maybe wearing shorts or something that is not allowed, but they will turn you away if you're not wearing the correct attire in certain venues, again, such as the dining room, the theatre, some of the posh sort of bars, lounges. So make sure when there's a black tie night scheduled, make sure you've packed something that will adhere to that dress code. Now, if you've seen my previous vlogs, you know me and my family go all out for a black tie night. We have, like, my dad and my brother go in 3-piece suits, or just like a jacket and a tie. That's absolutely fine. We all go in long dresses. I have purchased dresses specific for black tie nights on cruises. No, they weren't expensive. I got 4 long ball gowns from Shein for about 40 quid total. So if you're ever looking for something like that, go on Shein, because it is well worth it. But it doesn't have to be a long ball gown. It doesn't have to be a 3-piece suit with a top hat. It really doesn't. You can go in a nice short cocktail dress, or you can go in just a jacket and a tie, or I think you can get away with an open collar. Again, it will depend on cruise line. But if you don't really like that type of thing, you're only going to be doing it once. You don't even have to go into these venues if you don't want to. If you don't really want to dress up, you don't really care about going into any of the theatres or the bars or anything like that, you just want to have a quick meal and then maybe go and chill in your cabin, you can do that. But just obviously make sure you're going in those venues that allow that. I personally like to do a bit of both. I know on our Caribbean cruise for 2 weeks we had 4 formal nights. After the second one, we were getting fed up, to be quite honest. We I mean, we didn't really want to do any more. We found 4 to be too many on a 2-week cruise. We think 2 would have been enough, like 1 a week. That would have been absolutely fine. But towards the end, I think our 4th one, I didn't really dress up as much. I put a dress on, but didn't really sort of go all out like I usually do. So it really is up to you. If you don't feel like doing it, you don't have to partake in it. It's not a compulsory, mandatory thing. Obviously it is if you want to go into these venues that have the dress code, but you really don't have to if you don't want to. But I have done the opposite, where I have dressed up and gone to the buffet. It wasn't planned. We were waiting for a table in one of the restaurants, and they said, I think they said it would be a 2-hour wait because it was a specific restaurant that we really loved and we wanted to go into, but you couldn't pre-book. It was just essentially a turn up and you'll be seated. So it got to like the first hour and we were still waiting, and we ended up just all walking in our ball gowns, high heels, my dad and brother with their like dark jackets and ties. We ended up just going and sitting in the buffet, and other people were doing it as well. There were loads of people. You can still dress up, and if you don't want to go into the restaurant, if you don't like the menu, you can go into the buffet. It's absolutely fine. It's not a big deal at all. I would definitely recommend it, to be honest. I think everyone does it. I've seen it all the time. So if you really don't want to make an effort, or if you are happy making an effort, putting a nice dress on just to take a photo, you can then go to the buffet. Now, I do like the formal nights because it is really nice seeing everyone, you know, making an effort to dress up. I love the photo opportunities. There are usually like professional photographers on board who are there to take your photos, and it's always nice to have a bit of sort of a memorabilia to come home with. But it is a really nice night, and again, if you don't want to do it, you really don't have to. It's really not like, you're not going to get looks. Absolutely not. You're really not. On the recent one that we went on in May, I think there was an evening, it wasn't a formal night, but there were lots of people dressing up because they usually like to dress up a couple of nights before we go home, just to sort of make the most of all of the outfits that they've packed and not worn. But that was when me and my sister just wore, I think, joggers or leggings, and we were walking around the ship, and there were people next to us in high heels, long dresses, like all the hair done. So we probably looked out of place, but it was absolutely fine. People are going to do it. So I just want to stress this. If you want to dress up, you can. If you don't want to, you do not have to. You don't have to pack anything. It's really up to you what you pack and what you wear, especially for these evenings and formal night. And then just lastly, just sort of talking about a general day-to-day. If it's a sea day, no one's really dressing up. It's sort of jeans, t-shirts. If it's nice, obviously, and you want to go outside, it might be like a long flowy dress or shorts and a t-shirt. But there's no real dress code in the day. Even again in the bars, it's just, you can literally wear what you want. No one's gonna tell you off for it. So in the day, it is very relaxed. You'll even see people walk through the ship in like a dressing gown that, you know, the cruise line have supplied you in your cabin. It's really not a big deal. No one really tells you off for it. If you're walking through somewhere maybe where you're not meant to be walking through in flip-flops and a bathrobe, then you might be like, can you walk that way instead? They might just tell you to walk a different way. But all in all, it's very relaxed, very casual in the daytime. And no one cares if you wear the same thing more than once. I have done it plenty of times. I have worn the same long blue ball gown dress for a formal night, I think 3 times now. I don't care, I love it. I'm getting my money's worth, which was again a Shein dress, which was only 15 quid. So I think I've already got my money's worth. But no one cares if you re-wear a dress. If you wanted to get more of an idea of what I actually wore on my previous cruises, please have a look at all of my cruise. I've got playlists for my cruises. Have a look at each one. If it's a port day, you can skip to see what I wore. But I would say hot cruises, very much long dresses, shorts, t-shirts, bikinis every day. And then if it was maybe going to Norway, my thick red coat, which you'll probably see a couple of times in my videos, and jeans and probably good walking shoes, I would probably say as well. But definitely it does depend on the cruise that you're sailing on. So I hope this helps you with your planning for packing on a cruise. I know it was quite general, but I do feel like you know what you need to pack if you're going somewhere cold, you know what you need to pack if you're going somewhere hot, but it is just maybe the day-to-day on board and the evenings as well. It's always good to make sure you know what the evenings on a cruise consist of, because maybe some people might not know about the formal nights. But if anyone has any other questions about the dress codes, about the sort of packing elements of a cruise, or just anything in general to do with a cruise, you know I would love to answer any questions or anything you've got. So please comment below or message me on my social channels. I'm always here to help. So thank you for watching, and I hope you all have an amazing time wherever you are sailing. I am very jealous and I hope to go on another cruise very soon, but thank you so much and see you in my next video.